I'm here to talk to you about our Hope United campaign and in particular what we learned from what we saw from the social element of that campaign. So here to talk you through what myself, my colleague Abhishek Sharma, who's based in India, so unfortunately couldn't be here today, and also our colleagues at Brandwatch, who we partnered with on this analysis, what we learned from this campaign. Just check my clicker's working. There you go. So some of you will have seen this a year ago. So last summer we launched our Hope United campaign, which was a new campaign really trying to unite the nation in tackling online hate. So we recruited a range of players from all 4 UK nations, co-managed by Rio Ferdinand, to really try and draw attention to online hate that is experienced by a range of people and is also experienced by a range of footballers. This campaign tied into the Euros last year, so really trying to kind of capitalise on big focus on football and the abuse that footballers receive. And as you can see there, the quote from Rio, so his experience, his work on and off the pitch really showed him there's no hiding place from social media and abuse. So really, using this campaign to make sure people understood their rights, responsibilities, with tension and emotions running high during the Euros. So the campaign was really trying to drive awareness of online hate and try to reduce it in effect, but also give people the digital skills, the tech skills to know how to block hate, how to kind of call it out, how to report things, so that ultimately we could try to have a positive impact and reduce online hate overall. Talking through then what we learned from the campaign. So just in terms of what we learned, so what we saw in terms of, as I mentioned, so we used a range of talent, a range of football stars. So what we saw was that because of their own high follower bases, the reach per post of the posts that were coming directly from Hope United's team, as it were, was much higher than from our own posts. So really we were able to understand the value of using people who are kind of fully front and centre, especially during the Euros. So using those footballers to really play a key role in providing that reach and exposure to the campaign, so capitalising on their profile. What we saw in terms of really trying to pick apart the impact of the campaign using Brandwatch was that posts containing hashtags specific to hashtag Eurocup really performed well. And what that helped us to do, so what we saw was that fans then started to follow that and use Eurocup hashtags in their posts about Hope United, so it kind of was able to kind of snowball it. And then also we were able to understand what other popular hashtags, emojis, fans of the campaign and fans were using during the campaign. What we saw, and I'll talk through this in a bit more detail, so quite a lot of this analysis is about, in effect, during the campaign, which was kind of during the Euros, versus, I'm calling it post the campaign. It ended up forming part of our campaign, but on a slightly, and unfortunately, post the end of the Euros, I'm sure most of you will remember the abuse that Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, and Jadon Sancho received after missing penalties. But what we were able to do using Brandwatch and how we were able to pick apart the data on through social listening was really understanding how performance and how reactions tracked over time. So what we were able to do then, in terms of post the Euros, as it were, straight after the final, we were able to see reactions, performance of posts that we posted immediately after the campaign in response to the racial abuse that the players received. And actually, as you can see there, that generated almost half of the retweets for the overall campaign. So because of the high profile of the abuse that they were receiving, unfortunate as it was, we were able to then understand the relative impact of the different posts to help us plan for future campaigns. Because of the nature of the topic we were talking about around online hate, we saw high engagement from other organisations. So other organisations who are focused on also reducing online hate, were seen sharing our posts from the Hope United campaign. So organisations like Stop Hate UK, Unseen UK also associated themselves with the Hope United campaign. And then, because of it being such a kind of widely affecting issue, affecting so many people, so many different walks of life, we saw influencers and individuals from a range of different fields sharing those posts, so ranging from football clubs, entertainers, education institutes were also spreading awareness around the campaign. just walking through a bit more detail. So what we saw, so original posts, which were only 20% of the volume, actually generated 70% of the reach. And I talked about kind of pre versus post. So you can see we've got kind of two spikes. So where we kind of had the first kind of wave, the more of the kind of launch campaign in that kind of first week of June or so, we saw a big spike in retweets. But actually, immediately after the final that week, as I say, kind of post the campaign, post the end of the Euros, is where we saw an additional, even higher spike of retweets. And actually, what we saw was that our net sentiment, kind of during versus post, so post the campaign increased after fans showed huge support for Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka and Jadon Sancho in that last 2 weeks of the campaign, still using the hashtag Hope United, because actually it further drew attention to the issue that we were trying to talk about, we were trying to address. So actually it became more of an issue. So actually gave people more of something to kind of a cause to champion beyond supporting the individual players. I mentioned this before, so influencers from a range of different kind of backgrounds, walks of life, were also seen sharing Hope United posts both during and post the campaign. So Stop Hate UK, very proud to be involved in BT's campaign, so we're able to really understand which different posts, which individuals were generating reach, were generating engagement for us, and a range of organisations. So yeah, organisations such as England, Liverpool FC, but then former players Michael Owen, Julian Lescott. Then we've got rock bands, organisations like Stop Hate UK, as I mentioned before, and people from other sports who also may have received abuse and online hate themselves, from Olympians to handballers and others as well. So these are only examples of those, and yeah, schools and educational institutes as well. So really demonstrating the breadth of reach, and I think the breadth of resonance that we saw for the campaign. It really kind of touched a nerve for a range of people, a range of organisations. What we saw was really positive engagement. So yeah, most fans loved the idea of what we were trying to do. I think people were buying Hope United shirts to really demonstrate their support with the money going to Cyber Smile HQ as a charity. The top tweet there, people saying this has to stop, and really trying to, it was really galvanising support, and that was in response to a post from Marcus Rashford himself. And we were able to really pick apart, again, using Brandwatch, understanding what the themes of conversations were by people engaging with the campaign and posting and around the campaign using the hashtag. So many people taking the pledge, sharing the tech tips that I mentioned, these digital skills around how to block, how to report abuse and online hate. I mentioned just now the Hope United t-shirts were sought by many fans. I think we sold out initially, so had another run of them with a view of raising money for charity, as well as raising awareness around the topic. Many people looking in to understand more around the purpose of the campaign and wanting it to cover additional topics like LGBTQ rights as well. So helping us understand how we can expand Hope United into other areas where people might be receiving online abuse, online hate. So really what we were able to do was help us understand how the campaign worked, how to pick it apart, and through use of Brandwatch. And then in terms of kind of individual posts, really understanding which tweets, which posts would gain the highest levels of engagement. So I mentioned before, kind of post the campaign. So what we saw was huge levels of engagement and reach for this post with Rashford, Sancho and Saka's names on it. This was obviously immediately post the final in a couple of days after. So unfortunate, very unfortunate, the abuse that they received, but helped us to understand how to really try and tap into the mood of the nation to make sure that we're trying to see that as an opportunity to better draw attention to online hate and create further kind of rally people to the cause of trying to reduce it. What we saw where we used a range of footballers who were part of the Hope United team, what we saw, they were amongst the top posts in terms of both overall reach because of their follower base and also reach per post. So the likes of Gareth Bale, Rio, Marcus Rashford really drove really high levels of reach per post and engagement with the campaign for us. So yeah, I said at the bottom there, Brandwatch really helped us in measuring the performance of the individual members of the team, of the Hope United team and squad. And also what we're able to do by looking at performance by our different handles, we're able to see that actually Hope United post published on by @BT Sport had almost twice the levels of reach per post overall than tweets than posts by BT UK. I think because of the kind of more immediate resonance of people who are immediately interested in sport and football, there was even higher levels of reach per post overall through the overall course of the campaign. Although, as I showed you before, for BT UK, once what was going on in terms of the racist abuse post the final came out into even more of the public consciousness and beyond the world of football fans, was where activity from BT UK really kind of came to the fore as well. So yeah, Brandwatch really helped us in being able to compare performance of our different channels for the same campaign. So for planning future campaigns, really understanding how we might use our different channels, our different handles. And then looking at this, so reach per post for BT UK was relatively high post-campaign, and yeah, I've touched on this already. So this was due to the high volume of support that people with high follower bases, influencers, once they kind of engaged with our activity and retweeted our tweet, posted in favour of the players. So we saw really high reach post-campaign because of that for BT UK. So yeah, I've showed you this on kind of trend analysis as well, but Brandwatch really helped us further dissecting our data by really picking apart different time periods and really pinpointing what was happening when, by whom, and really kind of slicing and dicing our social listening data to really get under the skin of what was working well. And actually, what we saw, interestingly though, reach per post for retweets was higher during the campaign because of that high follower base of a Hope United team when they were sharing their own campaign-related posts. So it really helped us for future campaign planning to understand the role of our own channels and use of talent, and therefore helping us understand the kind of the virality of the campaign and how we can replicate that, how we can capitalise on that for future campaigns. We also were able to understand the talent and associated football clubs and what exposure they were able to generate. So we saw on the left here who were the most frequent tweeters were BT itself, not surprisingly, but also Team Hendo, Mark Alera, our CEO, and others, who the most frequent tweeters were and what kind of reach that was generating. But on the left there, again, understanding the role of the Hope United team and the role they played in encouraging their own followers to support the initiative. So going outside of BT's own follower base and really trying to generate a wider range of engagement and reach, and helping us identify our target audience as well. And lastly, what we saw was really understanding, for future campaign planning and for kind of optimizing during the campaign, what hashtags, what phrases, what phraseology people were using during the campaign, in things like hashtag say no to racism, what emojis they were using, things like a raised fist and so on, as they were supporting the campaign. So really helping us to understand what we should be doing and helping us to identify what's the kind of the right content, what's driving the greatest levels of engagement, either through our own post or also engagement with our posts in terms of how people were talking about them. And then some of you will have already seen this in the last 24 hours now. What we've been able to do then is bring a lot of these learnings through for planning our social activity into this year's Hope United campaign, which has gone live in the last day or so, linked to the Women's Euros, which start tomorrow, which is still under the overall Hope United banner, but is much more focused on misogynistic abuse that women receive online, with the focus on, therefore, on the Women's Euros squads as more front and centre, but where the overall concept of the campaign is that it's not her problem, it's everyone's problem. So we're not just using Lucy Bronze and so on and from the women's teams, but we've also still got Jordan Henderson, Gareth Southgate and others to make sure it's making this point that it's because they're receiving the abuse, it doesn't mean it's just their problem. So really trying to make that the overall crux of the campaign. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Andy. One question before you leave. So there's obviously a lot of data there about how you understood the various different engagement. Like, how do you measure the impact on the master brand?
So what we were able to do, so this was in particular the social element of the campaign. So in addition to that, we had huge brand and ad tracking for the campaign itself. So really what we saw was two parts. So it drove really positive engagement in people learning the skills and understanding how many people across the population we were able to give those digital skills, those tech tips to, so that they did now know how to report abuse and so on. So that's part of it in terms of actually material change in people's knowledge and behaviour. And then also we saw a really positive shift in brand perceptions around recognising the facts that we're trying to make a difference to
yeah, no, it's such a great story of impact. Good to see a brand leading from the front. So thank you very much, Andy. Appreciate it. Put your hands together for Andy from BT, please.